In March, details emerged that British consultancy Cambridge Analytica downloaded the profiles of 87 million users and then offered that information for sale to companies and, in some cases, political campaigns. European lawmakers were infuriated over the breach, and a new data protection law will go into effect in Europe starting in May. And joining us now live from London is our UK correspondent, Jonathan Sacerdoti, who has been following this story. Jonathan, we know that 87 million Facebook users were affected by this breach, and that information, of course, was shared with the consultancy Cambridge Analytica, which is based in the UK. Tell me what's next for these users.
Initially, Eli, the former Cambridge Analytica employee Christopher Wiley estimated that 50 million users had their data used by him and his employer in their work. But now Facebook is saying it's going to inform 87 million Facebook users who may have been affected by giving them a message on their Facebook news feeds. And Cambridge Analytica insisted last week that only 30 million Facebook users had their information used in this controversial way. But the company is now coming under increased pressure, and all 2.2 billion users of the Facebook service will now receive a note on their Facebook feeds about protecting themselves and their information, and that'll include a link to see what apps they've used and how much of their personal information and online activity is being shared with those apps, allowing them to switch off some of that access.
Now, of course, the company that was getting all of this information is based in the UK. How many people in the UK were actually affected by this? How many are going to get that note that you just talked about a minute ago?
Well, the vast majority of those whose information was shared with Cambridge Analytica are actually in the US. That's about 70 million people. But at least 1 million people are believed to be in the UK who were affected, as well as 1 million each in the Philippines and Indonesia, and also 310,000 in Australia. So this has definitely been a problem that has international repercussions. And as you say, the company involved is based here, so the British authorities are taking action, as are others. I mean, there's also a situation in Italy, with the Italian antitrust enforcer announcing its own investigation because of unfair commercial practices on the basis of user information and data sharing with third parties through APIs and the like. And over the weekend, Facebook also suspended another data harvesting company called CubeU for posting quizzes which aimed to harvest data for what they claimed were non-commercial and academic purposes.
Jonathan, that's all interesting that Facebook is taking action on its end, but are people affected by this data breach entitled to anything at all? Any word from Facebook if they're planning to make this situation good for their users?
Very little indication exactly what users will be able to get out of this. There doesn't seem to be much suggestion that there'll be compensation or the like. And in fact, the part that's bothering most people about this is that they gave permission for their data to be used by third-party apps. Those quizzes and apps that people installed often ask for access to personal information, and all too many of us clicked yes when asked if we granted that permission because they wanted to know what Star Wars figure they were or the like. So I think this is also an educational learning curve for Facebook users around the world.
All right, Jonathan Sacerdoti following the story for us from London. Thank you for joining us.